I'm not gonna lie, coming back to just the cricket noises is goddamn terrifying. Then again, it's been terrifying from like episode 6? 7? Somewhere there onwards, but yeah, that's by the by. Hey there guys, my name is Nix and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry. Last time, we had a long chat with Wishi-san and basically found out that everyone's in this. And by everyone, I mean all of my friends, which I trusted. And then Rainer and Mion tried to feed me needles. Subtly, not like forcefully. Normally I would meet you on the next page, however, because of the way I have to exit this game, I have to continue on to the next line of text in order to go on without any old F4ing or anything stupid like that. And I want to draw attention to something I said at the end of last episode after I read these 2 tips. I think we got 2. Yeah, we got 2. What's a drug that makes you commit suicide and then just threat? You know. Nothing sinister about that. Anyway. What drugs make you kill yourself? Wait, so if I'm not Oishi talking to someone else, what the hell? Never mind. Let's cut to chase. Is there a drug that can cause someone to kill themselves? Not directly, no. That's quite a roundabout response. You mean there's one that does it indirectly? It's possible to induce a suicidal mental state is what I mean. That's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They don't have the willpower to commit suicide. Not as mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel like they're walking on air. Thus, they don't commit suicide. It's a very, blunt way of discussing this, but I get you have to discuss things this way, especially when you're in the police. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There is a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire. You know, sometimes I think I learn something by reading these, and then I think, is this something I really want to be learning? I guess. I see. So it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. Was Tomitake bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide more by civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm, as though going through a withdrawal, is completely different. Tomitake-san's death wasn't civilized. Someone would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide. There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Anyone wondering why I didn't stumble over the word methamphetamine? I've read it one too many times in my life to fall over that one. I saw the thing and saw it started with meth and I'm like, I know where this is going. To hell in a handbasket. That one I had to double take on. Barbiturate? Barbiturate. It might be barbiturate. Barbiturate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid. No signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think is that it's some sort of illness. Something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The deceased exhibited none of them. I wonder, is there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden? Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it could also be caused by physical trauma. Encephalitis is real? I thought that was some shit that Steins Gate Zero made up. Never mind. Encephalitis, stroke, or even tumours. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? Well, that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. He could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain it to me in simpler terms? It's not that hard, Oishi. Basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl and that made him go haywire. Guess this means the assailants didn't have any intent to kill. They smacked him hoping to nick some change and just happened to hit him in a bad place. The two plump men laughed hoarsely. But of course, it's not like that. Undoubtedly. Whether it was habitual drug use or something mental, the deceased's background holds the key. How's your investigation going? Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to go back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry at me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. The hell is Kuma-chan? Is there a bear running this police department? Translator's note. Kuma means bear in Japanese. Oh god, now I've taken to fucking doing the old anime dubbing thing. Subbing thing, never mind. What's this threat about, shall we? Is this the police, or... This is still the police. Those guys just now. They had national diet badges. Oh, that's an issue. And it's Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki. That's interesting. The Prefectural Assembly member and City Councilor are related. It's dirty is what it is. Shouting out each other's name during elections. While one's up for election, the other holds an assembly, and they double up with their campaign activities. Blatantly. I don't know how much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior consultation, there are no restrictions on the political activities. Kuma-chan, the second investigation division is going to be pretty tough for you. Should at least brush up on your election laws. I'm not cut out to handle intellectual crime, cause I'm dumb. There was Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki. Are these both related to Mion? I'm gonna take a stab in the dark and say these have something to do with Mion. Also, the mayor of Hinamizawa. Yeah, okay, these have something to do with Mion. So they're all influenced by the Sonozaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off by the deputy chief in the Looks like they were seen off by the deputy chief and the department chief. Came to me. Or it came to me even. That night when the department chief invited me along to get some udon, I thought that was it.
You
have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something. Have you? Nope, not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritto and fish cake. The counselor stormed in on the police chief in a rage. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural assembly member Sonozaki and city councillor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Oh, snot-nosed Korea police chief couldn't handle being yelled at by them. They were like Yakuza. A petition came up with your name. Petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Hinamizawa incident is being handled. Goodness me. I've not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? Already got me hands full with Tomitake's death. Really? I hope for your sake. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. That was quite a feast. This month's been nothing but a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet was feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. I haven't been doing that well there lately. I haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi! I'm going by train. The department chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it would be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already jelly. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the department chief's address. We'll see you again tomorrow. Best wishes. Uishi-san.
Hi.
Yeah. Past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers half believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? When are you going to pay off your mortgage with your severance pay and move up to Hokkaido with your mom? Well, the pines to return to her birthplace. It's the least I can do. And severance? Well, I'll enjoy it at the entertainment district. Chief said he may have to reconsider issuing your special retirement salary raise. Public servants' severance payment is calculated based on their monthly salary when they retire. So a special promotion of 2 pay grades is given before retirement. This tops up the employee's severance payment. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not exactly a commendable custom. Incidentally, the difference between the 2 pay grades that make the payout is quite significant. I'd expect no less of our egghead chief. Quite the model veiled threat. But, well, considering how our pay comes from public's hard-earned taxes, that's the way of the times, I suppose. Certainly wasn't a laughing matter, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's such a model response, but given how hard you've worked, it's not at all odd for you to take home such a good package. Personally, I'd like to see you get it. If I can get it, well, of course I want it. He'll get it, as long as you're an adult about this. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you so much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the department chief's conversation a bit rudely. Looked like he still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Yeah. Oh, man. I wonder if I'll be able to repay that loan. He's got loans? Interesting. Well, that's the end of that one. Now, as I said, before I go on with the main thing, I want to draw attention to one thing I said at the end of the video. Now, I don't know if it came through on the video, but I definitely felt like I heard that tapping for some reason at the end of the video, and I'm like, is that tapping or am I mishearing things? Yeah, well, about that. Yeah, so I had to advance to this screen before I could like exit the game normally, because you can only exit through this menu, which only appears in like the actual main body of the goddamn thing. So I like basically said, "Did I hear tapping?" Skip to this next thing. I was like, "Oh shit, I did." Okay. Anyway, let's move on. The sound of muffled footsteps in front of the door to my room. A moment of silence, as if whomever they belonged to was ascertaining as if I was inside. Of all the things I should have been doing, I continued on with my restless slumber. I was very much conscious, but my body hadn't caught up yet. Even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door. It was as if I was completely paralyzed and unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet? If they came into my room right now, then... Oh, thank God. Whew. Thank God. I was momentarily concerned that Reina had advanced from standing outside my window to standing outside my door. I'm assuming that's what she does. I sprung to my feet and threw my covers off on my mom, who was opening the door. Whoa! Keiichi! What's the matter? Well, sorry. I was still half asleep. I thought it was still 1 or 2 a.m. But the morning sun was already streaming through the gap between the curtains. It felt nothing like morning. Yesterday I must have fallen asleep right after that. Then I should have gotten a full 10 hours rest. But it didn't feel like that at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up and my sense of balance felt off. I felt feverish enough that it was clear to me that I still wasn't well. Well, Keiichi? How are you feeling? Can you make it to school? I felt far from well enough. No, I wasn't mentally fit to go. I was still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I had swallowed that needle, what would have happened? What if it had pierced my tongue? There was undoubtedly a murderous intent, but I don't think that's all it was. If they really wanted to kill me, then there were other, more certain ways to do it. They wouldn't resort to such dubious methods as having me swallow a needle. Meaning, I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Reina and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Something like sending a letter with a razor inside would have been a joke compared to this. Did you make it to the hospital? Did you take your medicine? Yeah, kind of. Something about my mom's dubious gaze bothered me. She seemed more about her son who was missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It was definitely mental fatigue. I wasn't really physically ill. It'll be hard to get back on track once your daily routine is thrown off. Come on, get on up! They say wellness is a state of mind. Guess where I'm not, Mom? Well, I've heard that line many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance, but it wasn't like I was healthier than anyone. Come on, go wash your face. Breakfast is already ready. There isn't much time before Reina-chan comes and gets you. Mum's tone meant I couldn't argue about it, so I had to give up on skipping a second day. By the way, were you the one who got bean paste all over the living room wall, Keiichi? You shouldn't do something like that. Your father was quite angry. I didn't feel particularly guilty for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mum didn't question me any further about it. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. What Mion had said as she left yesterday. I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow. It came back and dwelled in the back of my head. What did she mean by that? I didn't even really have time to think about it. She was saying, don't be absent. Taking that a bit further, it was the same as her saying I should just go about my life and live as if nothing had happened. If I showed any signs of acting unusual, it would probably result in them making their move. If I acted differently, someone like Oishi-san, for example, might end up noticing that something is up. Meaning, if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything differently from the norm, in effect it would end up communicating something to those who were undesirable. And it seemed that that was something the girls didn't intend to forgive. So if I just went along as normal, no harm would come to me. Was that how it was going to be? All that misery I had experienced up until yesterday would almost creepily just fade away. It was an enticing deal. Despite forgetting everything I'd seen or heard these last few days, I'd be able to keep on living as normal. There's no way such a selfish thing could. I swallowed hard. Once again, I deliberated on the idea that I just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. She was giving me, someone who mistakenly broke some rule of theirs, a chance. Was what I did really something so unforgivable? But Mion had given me another chance. She was saying, if I just forgot everything and kept on living like I had been, I'd be forgiven. Keiichi! Your food is getting cold! Hurry up and get down here! Rena will be here if you don't hurry! I'm coming! I crammed my textbooks into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. I picked up my somewhat bland breakfast. It seemed that I didn't have much time. It was already past when I usually met up with Reina. Given yesterday's event, she'd probably be here within the next 5 minutes. I needed to be ready to head to school by then. I had to forget everything that had happened the past 2 days. Forget it all and return to my normal life. For this to be normal, I'd have to be where I normally met up with Reina. Today of all days, the rice was dry and hard to get down. I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks? What the hell is a chopstick? Chopsticks. The chime signaled that Reina had arrived. Mom hurried me along. Come on, Reina-chan's already here. Hurry, hurry! My mother's merry smile and my gloomy face were polar opposites. Honestly, I was reluctant to see Reina, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Reina on the other side. Was it the Reina I knew? I couldn't keep her waiting. I needed to do things as usual. Morning! She seems normal. This is a good sign, however, I do need more water. An invigorating greeting filtered in from across the doorway. Okay, since Keiichi-kun was a bit late. Will he be okay today, I wonder? The manner in which Reina was concerned was, without a doubt, the Reina I knew. I was probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday. Pretend as though nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment. Forget about the mysterious deaths that happened the following years. Forget about the people falling to their death, the terminal illness and the suicide, the fatal beatings and the disappearances. Forget it. Forget all of it. Forget that Reina and Mion were scary. Of course I'll forget it all. Forget all about it. Forget about the mochi, too. Forget. Reina once again asked to make sure.
学校行けそう？
Can you make it to school?
大丈夫。
Yeah, I'm fine.
よかった。
Great!
じゃあ行こう。
Then let's go!
Michan
is waiting! Reina showed me her usual bright smile. I couldn't find any hint of deceit in her expression. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief. I was gonna say, music cut out, don't you fucking dare!
なのにさとこちゃんね、絶対にできるって言ってきちゃって。
Sadako-san, but Sadako-chan was so insistent that she could do it. As we were walking, Reina talked about a lot of different stuff, more so than usual.
それで
And then?
さとこちゃん不吉祥だから
Sadako-chan
何度や
is
ってもで
clumsy,
きない
so
の。
she failed no matter how many times she
可愛
tried.
かったんだよ。
Oh, she was so cute! Everything Reina talked about was just silly nonsense, so I replied every so often and laughed from time to time. It was a rather laid-back conversation. We passed by one of our neighbors and they called out to us.
あれケイチちゃんにレナちゃ
Oh
ん
my, Keiichi-chan and Reina-chan, aren't you two a bit late today?
ミオンちゃん先に行くって言ってたわよ
Mion-chan said she was going on ahead.
ああ、みーちゃん怒ってるかな。
Mi-chan look mad, I wonder.
怒ってるか
I
な。
wonder.
早く行こう、ケイチ君。
We need to hurry up, Keiichi-kun. After greeting our neighbor with a smile, Reina turned back to me and poked her tongue out. Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile.
ケイチ君笑った。
Keiichi-kun smiled.
なんだよ。
What? Reina stopped and stared at me.
ケイチ君、今朝もなんか元気なかったか
I
ら
was thinking you still hadn't
まだ
recovered
風
from
邪
your
が
cold
治らない
since
の
you
か
sent
な
down
っ
this
て思
morning,
ってたけど
Keiichi-kun. No,
大
you
丈
seem
夫みたい
fine.
だね。
Fine.
ね。
With a grin, she gently poked my cheek. It was a bright and sincere smile. Hey, Keiichi Maibara. How can you still doubt Reina after she shows you a smile like that? Maybe I just had a high fever up until today, and I imagined everything that I thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious? I really hope that was the case. If God would grant me just one wish, there's only one thing that I'd wish for. I'd want to know what happened in the past few days. More specifically, from the night of the Watanagashi up until last night. I wanted all of that to have never happened. I wonder how many times I'd wished for that these past few days. As long as Reina kept on smiling like this, I think it might just become reality. So I wanted Reina to keep smiling. Keep on smiling.
で、ケイチ君、
Sakeichi-kun! Please no.
昨日のおはぎ、ちゃんと食べてくれた？
What the fuck just broke in my ears? And why has the world gone negative? There was mochi yesterday. Did you eat them all? The vain wish of mine was instantly shattered. I don't like how it looks like Reina's got blood splatter on her eyes. I've just noticed that. Like, what the fuck are these dots? They weren't there normally. Oh, God. My heart began palpitating. The relaxing morning mood suddenly became frigid. Reina's smile was the same as usual. Her eyes were as gentle as usual. Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? Of course, she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, Reina was asking, did you get the message? She was probably trying to convey that.
ケイチ君？
Keiichi-kun? Okay, they are not there normally. It's just in the negative reflection, they look terrifying as if she's been covered in blood. They're like the white spots on her eyes where the light shines off. I was reluctant to give an answer. Reina stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Maibara. Reina was acting the same as always, wasn't she? I needed to respond in my usual way. Naturally, of course. But both my throat and mouth had gone dry, and my lips were stuck together. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Now not that much time had passed. I could still keep the conversation going naturally. I had to say something quickly. Reina playfully mimicked what I said when I finally squeaked something out. Reina's reaction was still normal. It seemed there wasn't as long as a pause as I'd thought. Somehow I finally squeaked out the rest. Delicious! However, my strained efforts neither sullied nor brightened Reina's expression. For a moment I panicked, thinking I had replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Reina broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo through the morning air. Being strung along by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well. I see! Please don't. So did you eat all of them, I wonder? My timid smile froze again. Did you make it without swallowing the sewing needle? Was that what she was asking? If I'd swallowed it, then I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Nah, I couldn't finish all of them. There's still some left. I was scared out of my wits, but that's how I played it. What about the homework to see who could tell which one Reina made? That homework was due today? Yeah, it's due today. Mi-chan will get angry. There's probably a penalty game ready for you. We both laughed at each other again. To the casual observer, it was just a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe, then even I think it'd just be the usual morning routine. But I certainly wasn't mistaken. There was something unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Reina. Yeah, we all remember that one. I recalled the unexpected piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from Reina's mouth. The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt cold sweat trickle down my back. Was it only that particular time that something evil had possessed Reina? No, that was wrong. That was still Reina. Oishi-san told me, didn't he? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugyu-san moved away to Hinamizu, she was suspended from school. Seems she went through a school building and broke all the windows. Reina had a disorder that normal people didn't. No matter how pleasantly she smiled, that fact would not change. But I couldn't even imagine how she looked as she broke all the glass throughout her school. The one thing I knew is that it wasn't something spur of the moment. If it was some sudden outburst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two. But she broke all of the windows throughout her school. Just imagine going through your own school breaking windows with a bat. Swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after another. Paying no heed to the flying shards. Can we just take a moment to appreciate how fucking cool this shot is? Also, why is she bleeding from the eyes? That's not normal, Reina. Oh, I was like, what the fuck is that third word? Aghast. Your classmate's aghast. Unable to move from the sudden turn of events. I wonder where she could have found the most windows lined up in a row. Probably the hallway. Smash, walk, wind up, smash, walk, wind up. It was difficult for me to connect that horrifying image with Reina smiling at me right now. But I just had to imagine it. Impossible because it was unimaginable. The naive way of thinking no longer worked. The unpleasant, piercing sound of shattered glass. The crunching noise as Reina treads across the broken shards, walking toward me. Reina's classmates going pale as they forget to even breathe. I wonder what they did as Reina came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they earnestly try to bring her to her senses by saying something? Did they jump at her, trying to stop her savagery? Or did they just run to the staff room and call for the teachers? Probably none of those. In the face of that blood-curdling sight, of Reina busting window after window, undoubtedly all they could do was silently clear a path for her. Dumbfounded, just clearing the path for Reina to continue. It'd be cruel to blame anyone for looking the other way. No, they simply weren't looking the other way. They knew that it was the only thing they could do to protect themselves. If they'd done something differently from the rest, they may have suddenly found themselves as Reina's new target. What would Reina have done to whoever attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would have undoubtedly acted according to her whims. Meaning I would be the next window. Reina staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot as she drew closer. I was also drawn into her eyes, paralyzed. Then Reina struck me with the bat over and over again like I was one of those windows. I crouched down to the floor, desperately protecting my head. Reina didn't care whether it was my head or my back. Zealously, she hits me again and again. What kind of expression was she making while doing this over and over again? I peered up to see. Her expression that it was so indifferent it was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, I didn't make as pleasant a sound as the other windows. She struck me continuously. Over and over again. The sound Reina wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try to stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Somebody save me. Turning a blind eye unless we're hanging out. But of course, everyone in class scrambled to obtain the highest standardized test scores. They'd get nothing from saving a cram school tryhard like me. Eventually, there would be a faint sound, similar to when you crack open a walnut, and some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out. Anyway, it wasn't that Reina momentarily lost herself in her anger. After forcing myself to breathe and calming down my heart, I recalled what Oishi-san had told me. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Reina-san. It showed up. And quite a bit at that. What does... She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Following that, Reina was suspended and had regular examinations at the hospital. Then, as Reina was undergoing counselling, she said it over and over. Oyashiro-sama. It seemed that the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost appearing in her house every night. Mouse, get off the screen. Standing over her pillow and looking down at her. That was only a piece of their conversation, but I still couldn't see... That was only a piece of their conversation, so I couldn't see the big picture. But it was by no means a happy little conversation. Okay, Bob Ross, calm down. Then what Reina did, or what she Was she saying that ghastly incident was the result of her being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? Up till now, I didn't want to believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse. That's why I wanted to say that the mysterious deaths every year had happened because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Oishi-san, I was more certain that the deaths were the work of men and not some curse. Except, if it was people perpetrating the incidents, my friends were somehow deeply connected. If I refused to believe that the curse was real, then I would have to believe that those who acted the kindest to me were deeply involved in the incidents. Why? How? And for what reason? Was Reina? Was everybody? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting it was just Oyashiro-sama's curse. In the aftermath, Reina had admitted to her doctor that it was because she was possessed by Oyashiro-sama. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. So that's how it was. There wasn't a second side to Reina. She did that because she was possessed by something strange like Oyashiro-sama. It wasn't Reina's fault. Oyashiro-sama was the one to blame. I knew. This was all backwards. Refusing to believe there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. Now that my close friends were the ones under suspicion, I changed my beliefs to my own convenience, seeing that it was Oyashiro-sama's curse to blame. Which was the better choice? Accepting that Oyashiro-sama's curse exists? Or that Reina and the rest of them were deeply involved in the string of mysterious deaths? I didn't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue the same as always. I wanted to believe that. But that was no longer possible. I'd received the message. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meaning of my own convenience, regardless of whether my opponent was a human or a curse. I won't let it kill me. As if I would just bend over and give in, for no good reason at all. Keiichi-kun!
さっきから変な顔してる。
You've been making a really weird face.
なんでだろう。
I wonder. Inhaling sharply upon hearing Reina's voice, I came back to my senses. Before I'd realized it, we were already at the entrance. Shaking my head a few times, I exercised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you looked at it, there was no way Reina could have done such terrible things. It was like I was trying to placate myself. As I slid open the door, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped down my head the moment I stepped into the classroom. The chalk dust went into my eyes, inducing a brief moment of agony. Why did I come to school today? Why do I even bother? How befitting for the truant Keiichi-san!
ケイイチもレナもおは
Good
よう
morning
ご
to
ざい
both of you,
ますです。
Keiichi and Reina.
おはよう。
Good morning, Sakura-chan, Rika-chan. Not quite in the mood for it, I didn't really react to Satoko's trap. Satoko braced herself as I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed when I simply walked by silently.
何なんですの？
What is this?
張り合いがありません
How
わ。
discouraging indeed.
ケイイチ、まだ本調子じゃない
Keiichi
み
doesn't
た
seem
いで
back
す。
to his usual self yet.
うん。
Yeah,
だから今日は
take
加
it easy on
減し
him
てあ
for
げて。
today,
ね。
okay? Suddenly there was a slap on my shoulder. It hurt a bit, but...
よケイちゃん
Hey, Kei-chan! Did you get enough rest? It was Mion. My mind was full with the stuff about Reina, but Mion was also a party of interest. Remember, Keiichi? That hawkish gaze from yesterday.
ああ、おはよ
Yeah, morning.
なんだなんだ
What's up with that energetic greeting?
差し入れのおはぎちゃんと
Did
食べ
you
て
eat the mochi I brought you? I'm like this because I ate them. Those words were itching to be blurted out.
やっぱ食欲がなくてさ。
I really just didn't have the
い
appetite.
くつかは食べたけど。
I ate a
だいぶ
few,
残
but
しちゃった
quite
んだ
a lot were left over.
あれ
Huh?
宿題は
What about the homework?
どれがレナの手作りかって
Do you have an answer for which one was Raina's?
ケイチくん宿題忘れなんだ
Keiichi said he forgot his homework.
ありゃ
Sheesh.
じゃあ仕方ない
We
ね
can't help it. It's time for the penalty. Flashing a lurid smile, Mion returned to her seat. There was nothing from our exchanges that would cause our classmates to suspect anything was amiss. But of course, anyone listening into our conversations up until this morning, they wouldn't see anything suspicious. That was why it was so frightening. They acted in a way that, regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi Maibara, no one would ever suspect them. That fact had me terrified. Soon the teacher came. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. Back to my Nichijou, it would appear. I'm sorry, I speak fluent weeaboo. This free study period was convenient time to consider where I stood. I gently closed my eyes and pondered the ridiculous position I was in right now. First of all, what I shouldn't forget was how dangerous the situation I was in. I'd fallen out of favor with them. After interacting with Oishi-san on multiple occasions, I could see I was getting closer to the matter at heart. The warning yesterday with the mochi was a good indicator of that. No. Calling it a warning was just my habit of understanding things. Probably had no meaning beyond stunting my progress and buying themselves some time. Until they had another method of completely erasing me, they were just biding their time. Even though they were keeping me under their thumb with threats, it didn't change the fact that I knew too much. The chilling sensation of my desk made me recall Satoshi Hoju, the boy who was using the seat until last year when he disappeared. Was he also similar to me? Did he learn something he shouldn't have and was erased? Damn it. I wouldn't let them get rid of me so easily. Never. But were they really trying to kill me? I had these contradictory feelings for a while now. Even though I suspected them, I felt I had to cover for them. Even having witnessed all their suspicious behaviors, a morning like this just made me seem like an elaborate hoax. No, that's just what I want to believe. Doubting my friends? Covering for them? My life was in danger. Or was it? Actually, I was debating the wrong point. Given my current situation, those points were something I should have been deliberated on a long time ago. But really, Reina and the rest of them, were they actually aiming to kill me? The little voice inside me continued to torment me with these unresolvable trains of thought. Are you an idiot, Keiichi Maibara? The answer should be obvious. But maybe that sewing needle might have just been an accident, right? How could you screw up and drop a sewing needle in a piece of mochi? The benefit of the doubt can only go so far. Both Reina and Mion, they'd acted and behaved suspiciously, but maybe it was all some misunderstanding. What kind of misunderstanding? It wasn't just suspicious, it was outright ludicrous, right? Reina had just corrected me for lying. Mion had only asked me about what I had for lunch. Reina was standing outside my door eavesdropping for a solid hour. She was probably waiting for my phone call to end. For a whole hour outside of your room? And is it normal to go home afterwards without saying anything? You heard it from Oishi-san, didn't you? Well, what Reina did to her former school. But at the hospital, she said it was Oyashiro-sama's fault that she... Cut it out, Keiichi Maibara. Don't you realize that they're out to kill you? Huh? I inadvertently blurted those words out loud. Hearing myself say that so directly left me dumbfounded for a few moments. Afterwards, I had to look around and check to see if anyone else had heard me say it. My little oh, fucking hell, I don't... Soliloquy? Why is it that the Japanese words are easier to say than the English ones? Soliloquy was cut a little too close to the truth. Even though I could feel the murderous intent from Reina and the others, part of me somewhere still was trying to deny that. This late in the game, such hesitation could be fatal. I knew that. But I was just your average student. A man living his normal, everyday life. Do you think I could suddenly believe that my friends who I'd been happily laughing with together up until last Sunday now intended to kill me? Right? You're too soft, Keiichi! This time I remembered to keep my voice down so that only I could hear it. There was only one thing I now understood. I was too soft. I didn't completely understand how dangerous Reina and the rest of them were. No, I wasn't trying to understand. I was too soft for not listening to Oishi-san when he earnestly showed me the heart of the matter. I didn't listen because I was too busy pretending to be dejected. I didn't comprehend it. I was just running away. I didn't comprehend it, so nobody had any notion to try and kill me. I needed to get rid of such naive thoughts. As I made that resolution, I heard the bell signaling the end of class. So soon. The day was already over. I didn't recall eating lunch or doing anything in class. My friends were putting their desks together in preparation for club activities. Not long ago, I probably would have happily jumped into that circle.
あらあらケイチさん
My Keiichi-san!
帰り支度とはあんまりですこと
How
よ
rude of you to even think about leaving! The way Satoko spoke was so typical and familiar. It almost physically hurt.
あれケイチくん今日は都
Keiichi-kun,
合
is
悪
today
い
not a
の
good
か
day? I
な
wonder. I wonder.
今日こそ二人で大勝
We were going to win big together. Seeing Reina's expression, which said she really was looking forward to today, was hard to take. Hey, Keiichi. Maybe Oishi-san is just some enormous jerk trying to separate me from the others by lying to me. Trying to expunge such weak-minded thinking, I slapped myself in the face.
ケイチくん
Keiichi-kun? Yeah. Was Reina really trying to kill me? I wish someone would tell me it was a hoax. I didn't care if it actually was one or not. I just wanted someone to say it was. Ugh. Yet another weak-willed thought. How did I ever become this naive?
大丈夫
Are you
頭痛いの
alright? Does your head hurt? Apparently that was how my inner dilemma appeared to Reina.
顔色悪いよ
You're pale!
一人で帰れ
Can
る
you make it home by yourself?
送ってった方がいいか
Maybe I should
な
accompany you home, I wonder. I wonder.
いやいい
No.
ごめん
No, it's okay. Sorry.
一人で帰れる
I can get home by myself.
部活はみんなでやってくれよ
Just have the meeting without me. Upon hearing that I wasn't going to participate in the club meeting, Mion pouted unhappily.
ケイちゃんがリベンジ熱望してたってんで
Since
Keiichi was so bent on revenge match, we were going to play that
deduction game from before, too.
ケイチさんにはリターンマッチに
Keiichi-san doesn't have the burning desire for a rematch.
情けない
How
ですよね
pathetic! I wouldn't fall for some dumb taunt. Without even a real retort, I just grabbed my bag and was about to get up. Someone's hand perched itself gently on my head.
ケイチ具合悪そうです
Keiichi doesn't seem to be well.
かわいそうです
How
よ
very unfortunate. It was Rika-chan. She was stretched up as far as she could, doing her best to pat my head with her petite hand. It felt so nice, which only made things even harder.
ごめんな
Sorry,
みんな
everybody.
じゃ
See ya. That's all I said as I quickly left the classroom. They said something to me as I was leaving, but I couldn't make it out. I managed to make it all the way to the entrance in that state of mind. Took out my shoes, put them on, and went forward. Forward. Hardened the heart, Keiichi Maibara. They were, for some unfathomable reason, trying to kill me. They were plotting something dubious, watching my every move. But I couldn't hate them. Because, weren't they my friends? Part of me lamented my naivety, while another part lamented the fact that I had lost something important by lamenting over it in the first place. It felt like my personality was being ripped in two, along with my body. If this was what Oyashiro-sama's curse was like, then it was just too harsh. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, I was wrong for not believing in your curse. But I believed in it now. Completely. Your curse does exist. So seriously, give me a break. I beg you. Come on. Fucking hell, it turned to night quick. Dinner was unusually bland. It had no flavor or aroma. The miso soup that normally tantalized my appetite instead tasted like nothing but boiled water. Dad was eating with us that night. It was a rare occurrence in this household. When he got into his work, he ate and slept in his own schedule. My dad never cared about time. Since my dad was at the dinner table, it either meant that he'd just reached a good point to take a break, or he was in a slump. So yeah, he just doesn't understand the motivation creators have.
タイアップの話だって口
The
約束
partnership was just a verbal agreement, wasn't it?
そんなに反りが合わない
It's so
な
hard to agree on things,
やっぱ
why
りお
not just
断
end
り
it?
したら
I feel like it's an industry with a lot of back scratching. But when it gets in the way of business... I wasn't able to pick out much of my mom and dad's conversation, but I could tell it wasn't a very pleasant topic. That, of course, made the disgusting food even less appealing. Staring lifelessly at the exchange between my parents, my mind wandered off to the same thought process I had going all day long. Friends close to me. No, they used to be friends. But I could no longer trust them. Right now, I was greatly lacking in allies. People I trusted. People I could depend on when push came to shove. There was something I just didn't have. Having just one ally would be incredibly reassuring in the currently hopeless situation I was in. I put down my chopsticks and looked over my parents, who were still talking about work. The first course of action that came to mind was to tell my parents everything. Currently, there wasn't a single person from Hinamizawa I could 100% trust. That meant the only people I could trust were my parents. But if I told them everything that had happened until now, would they understand? Reina, for example. That neighborly Reina who was so diligent in looking after me, came to get me every day and sometimes even brought over a share of what she made. How could I explain that she wanted to kill me? No matter how I explain it, it will probably be difficult for anybody to comprehend. My somewhat eccentric dad wouldn't understand, and my high-strung mum probably would drag me off to a psychiatrist in the blink of an eye. Sadly, that was the amount of trust that existed in our relationship. Even if they did come to understand, what could they possibly do? Unless they could uncover the truth, they wouldn't be able to protect me. No. By informing them of these unnecessary things, I'd be putting my parents in danger as well. Considering that the victims in past incidents were often married couples, I couldn't even joke about it. For the entire Maibara family to have an accident or just vanish into thin air, it was easily possible in Hinamizawa. What was important here was... Oh shit. God damn it, I'm too freaking eager on my own prompt. What was important here was knowing that something unnecessary could put you in danger. The most unsettling question was, how did they know that I knew? As long as they didn't know, my parents might not fall victim. That was one way to think about it, I guess? At least it was like that in my case. After I found out, things started becoming odd. In other words, it meant the following. As long as my parents didn't know anything, nothing would happen to them. Which meant that this house would be a safe haven as long as my parents were in. I knew these were just assumptions based on conjecture on top of conjecture. Wanting this house to be a safe haven, that was the pinnacle of my weak-willed method of thinking. I had to concede that it was not completely safe. It was only safer than outside. I knew that I couldn't rely on my parents. No, I couldn't risk getting my parents involved. The only person who could be my ally would be Oishi-san. Him and him alone. He was the only person who had understood the situation I was in. He didn't care so much about my safety, but he was without a doubt passionate about solving this case. It was a bit frustrating. Oishi-san was basically the whole reason I was in this mess. Now to get out of it, I had to rely on him. Meaning, it was all going according to his devices. It was just my job to look appetizing while bobbing in the waves as bait. Then when the fish started gathering around, Oishi-san would pull in the big haul. It was slightly infuriating, but even then I thought it was the best course of action. So then, what should I do? Patience was the first rule of fishing. Just keep waiting until the fish actually bites. But I wasn't simply bait. There were lots of other ways for me to struggle from being devoured. When they struck, I somehow needed to dodge it just enough to tag out to Oishi-san. No question, it was going to be hard. Timing to bring Oishi-san in would be difficult. He was in the city, not Hinamizawa. So if I phoned him in my moment of need, it would take him about 30 minutes to reach me. So I needed to run away from those 30 minutes. For example, if we set a rendezvous point for dire situations or something, I just have to hide out there until Oishi-san arrived.
よし。少し見えてきたぞ。
Okay. I can almost see it now. I was still being chased around in the dark by boogeymen, but now I knew which way to go. I knew I would never have imagined that this would be so reassuring. Oh yeah. Probably best if I had a concealed weapon for when things got rough. Typically that would call for a switchblade. But that wasn't too reassuring for combat. Also, since it was recognized as a weapon by the public, that wouldn't be good. Really, when the time comes, a long weapon like a bat would work in my favor. I remember there was a metal bat at school. I could be confident with that when push came to shove. If I pretended I was practicing my swing, it wouldn't be suspicious for me to always carry it around. I could go to school early tomorrow and secure it. Just possessing a weapon may be enough to deter them. And also one more thing. Insurance. It could be something like a note or a memo. I could write down everything that's happened as a sort of journal. In case I suddenly vanished, the journal would be left behind. With my journal in his possession, Oishi-san would be able to avenge my death. I left my parents engrossed in their conversation about work and went back to my room. I tore out a piece of paper from my notebook and made my way to my desk. Last time I wrote a journal was for summer homework in elementary school. In the off chance that something bad happened, the police could use my diary as a lead. So I should only write down the facts. How should I start? I jotted down my thoughts as they came. I, Keiichi Maibara, am in fear for my life. He made me laugh nervously. It was a line that would often show up in detective stories. Never even dreamed that I would be in the type of situation where I'd write it myself. I do not know why they are after my life. Rainer and the others were suspicious, but I had no proof. And that's why I couldn't write anything more. I laughed wryly to myself for writing such a passage draped in mystery. Would the police be able to get the hint from only reading this enigmatic passage? I could only pray that they would. What I prayed for most, though, was this journal would never need to play its part. Here, I laughed nervously. It was too simple, so I only wrote down one more line I just thought of. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-sama's curse. Was that too much? I probably shouldn't write more than that. If I write any more, then it would seem like I was just delusional. In order to appear to the reader that the person who had just written this was in sound mind, I chose not to write anything else at this point. I just needed to add more as I learned about the truth. I folded the paper and thought about a place to hide it. By hiding it somewhere obvious, there was a chance that they would uncover it instead. On the other hand, if it was in too obscure a location, there was a risk of nobody finding it at all. In the end, I decided to take the clock off my wall and stick my folded note on the back of it with scotch tape. After that, I put the clock back into its normal position. Yeah. It didn't look like anything was hidden behind it. Now I needed to set it up so that if anything happens to me, my parents could find it. I looked at it from countless different angles until I was satisfied and made my way downstairs. My parents were still talking about work. It didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I cut in.
話中ごめん。
Sorry to interrupt.
ちょっと聞いてもらっていいかな。
I have something I want to talk to you about. I'd never started off a conversation like that before, so both my parents startled. They stopped talking and turned towards me.
どうしたのケイチ
What is it,
お
Keiichi?
願いがあるんだけど、聞いてほしいんだ。
I have a favor to ask you, so please listen.
その、もしもだよ。
Just in case, yeah?
圭一、急ぎの
If
話
it's
じゃ
not
なくて
urgent, can we do this later?
お父さんとお母さん
Right
は
now, Mommy and
ちょっと
Daddy
今
have something urgent
急
they're
ぎの話を
talking
して
about.
るんだ。
I didn't think that their talk was more urgent than mine. In any case, I stated my
も
request.
しもだよ。
Just in case, okay?
俺が死んだらさ、
If I die... Both my parents' eyes went wide as saucers.
死んだらさ、
If I
俺の
die,
部屋にある時計、
I want you to put the
あ
clock
れ
on my
を
wall
棺
in
に入
my
れてほしいん
coffin.
だ。
If they did that, they'd probably find it. My memoir. Both my parents remained wide-eyed, not moving an inch. I couldn't blame them.
あの時計、工作の授業で作ったお気に
I
入りなん
made
だ。
that clock in shop class and really liked it.
頼むよ。
So, please.
どうしたの
What's the matter?
ケイチ
Keiichi?
何かあったの
Did something happen? Mom was finally able to ask me with a questioning gaze. Of course, this was a normal response for when someone's son suddenly started talking about a subject like this. I felt bad about making them worry, but right now I just wanted them to think about the clock in my room. With the awkward mood leaving the room in silence, I decided to go back up to my room.
明日は早くに学校に行きたいから、もう寝るよ。
I want to go to school early tomorrow, so I'm going to
お
bed.
やすみ。
Good night. Saying only that, I left the living room. I needed to get to school early tomorrow morning and secure that bat. I should make today the last day I went to school with Raina. As I climbed the stairs, I heard my mom call my name, but I pretended not to hear her. It wasn't something I could talk about with my parents. If I talked about it, it would only make things more dangerous. The fight that had begun was mine and mine alone. I couldn't rely on anybody. I wouldn't be killed. Not when I still knew nothing. Damn, well. I mean... Raina's been known to listen in before. Please don't say that she was. Not feeling so hot. Yeah, I feel that one. It's been a... I'm chasing shadows, apparently. Okay, well, that's mildly concerning. Oh, God. Well, it was a lot less dramatic episode, and yet the fear is still there, if only because Keiichi's just imagining Reina beating him to death with a bat. So, you know, I'm going to return the favor by the sounds of it. Anyway, thank you all for watching this episode of Higurashi. If you liked the video in any capacity, please feel free to give the video a like down below. Leave a comment on whatever you feel like at this point. And if you want to keep up to date with whenever I post other videos, be they of this or something else that I have in the works, it's not recorded yet. I wanted to do it tonight, and then I got sidetracked by doing podcast-based things. Oh, by the way, I have a podcast. There's normally a thing on the end screen. If you're ever bored and want more of me to talk about anime, or my friends to talk about other shit, that's there. But yeah, if you want to keep up to date with whenever I post anything over on this channel, feel free to subscribe to the channel. In theory, if you do that, YouTube sends you alerts to when I post videos, but all it does these days is you made the subscriber number go up, and you made me feel good about myself. So let's be honest, YouTube is fucked. But yeah, thanks for that in advance. Anyway, thank y'all for watching. I've been Nix, and I'll see y'all next time. Laters!